Welcome back, Seekers and Saints, to Fire in the Bones vlog, and this is referring a bit back. We're going back to the sermon of April 28th. And in that sermon, Pastor Shane preached from Philippians again, and he was talking about Epaphroditus. But before that, he talked about a guy named Roger. Now, Roger was kind of a really no-name at his church. I wouldn't say nobody, but no name for sure. But the impact he had was tremendous. And when he died, people noticed what he did. There was like a gap in the ministries because he wasn't there anymore. And Pastor Shane talked about Epaphroditus, a guy who went to take care of Paul and was otherwise would have been an unknown nobody. But his servant's heart led him to take on the job that really not a lot of people wanted to do. I mean, going to see Paul in jail probably was a little bit of a dangerous task, not just because of the travel. But he took it upon himself and didn't demand recognition. Now, I don't want to get too much into more what the sermon was about. Check out the sermon for more. But the thing I like to say is, without a stage crew, there's no play. Without a Jim Morrison behind the camera right now, this vlog doesn't happen. Without the building crew, the building falls apart. Without a Roger, that ministry doesn't get done. And what do they all have in common? When told about them, most people respond with, "Who's that?" So I don't want to talk about the necessity for those kind of people. We clearly need them in the church. Rather, I want to talk what happens when we don't have an Epaphroditus. What happens when the Rogers are not there? Right now there's I guess you might call it, there's a thing called main character syndrome. And you see this a lot in social media. Main character syndrome is when you have people, mostly on social media, who seem to think that they are the main star of a book or movie that everybody seems to be watching. And they get really upset when no one gives them that attention. We can have this in the church. We all know there's someone out there within a church or churches or maybe someone's who they do great work, but gosh, they really have main character syndrome. And what I want to do is talk about what happens when there's someone that wants to be like the church version of a Kabe Lame or a Jake Paul or someone like that. Or Logan Paul rather. What happens? Well, there's really 2 or 3 results I want to talk about. The first one is outward revulsion. And what that means is if you happen to be one of these people that suffer from church main character syndrome, you want recognition for your work. Every time you do a ministry, a teaching, whatever, you want the pastor to praise you for it. You want your name in the bulletin. You want a plaque, whatever. You need that attention. And you're offended when you don't get it. This smacks against the Bible. In Matthew 6, Jesus condemns the Pharisees for this kind of behavior. He condemns them for giving in public while pronouncing it and blowing their trumpets to everyone to say, look what we're doing. He condemns them for groaning and, I've been fasting for so long, or praying out loud. Jesus detested this behavior. And when you see people in a church, not just Parma Heights, any church, doing that, what you cause is everyone else to look at this holier than thou person, and they don't want to be anywhere near that church. I mean, we already see it enough in social media and other places outside the church. Why would I want to see it here? It's hard to reconcile Jesus' message and then turn around and see that woman or that man of the church that's doing this. If anything, it makes the back door look really good. If you have enough of those people, I'm out. Then there's also the inward rot. This one's a little personal for me. So maybe you're main character church syndrome, but you're not vocal about it. You don't say anything. But gosh, you get really mad when people don't recognize you. I've not seen really a lot of outward people at Parma Heights Baptist Church that way. Maybe they're there and I'm just not seeing them. But I'm willing to bet there's a few people that feel that way, that are upset when they don't get their dues or recognized for what they've done. I know, because I'm one of them. I've had to struggle with that. Like, how come no one noticed what I did? Or maybe they did, but they didn't tell me. And that's a horrible attitude to have. Remember what Jesus just said? You know, in Proverbs, it says that in Proverbs 27:2, it says that we should let other people praise us, not our own mouth. And I had problems with that it wasn't happening. So, and there's two problems when the inward rot settles in. One is that you could do things with the wrong intent. You know, 1 Corinthians 13 tells us we should be doing it out of a servant's heart and love. And if you're doing it to be recognized, well, then you're going to get mad and you're going to lash out at people, which is the second problem, because you're not getting your dues, you lash out, or you start getting bitter towards people because you think, why don't they see what I'm doing? Why doesn't the pastor call me up to the front to say, great job? And that sets in the wrong heart, the wrong attitude, and you start to see other people as a burden. And again, anyone else looking at you and looking at that bitterness, they're going to head for the back door. Bottom line, here's the conclusion of the matter. A church with too many pious priest types and not enough at Epaphroditus should probably widen the back door. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me on Fire in the Bones vlog.